What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'll be giving my spoiler-free review of The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson, the fourth book in his Mistborn Era 2 series. Now, while I liked it, I didn't actually love it. Now, I did this one as yet another buddy read with my mate John over at Talking Story, and we both agreed that even though it was good, it wasn't quite on the same level as Stormlight Archive, but it was still good nonetheless. For years, frontier lawman turned big city senator Waxilium Ladrian has hunted the shadowy organisation known as the Set, with his late uncle and his sister among their leaders, since they started kidnapping people with the power of allomancy in their bloodlines. When Detective Marazi Combs and her partner Wayne find stockpiled weapons bound for the outer city of Bilming, this opens a new lead. Conflict between the capital, Elendel, and the outer cities only favours the Set, and their tendrils now reach to the Elendel Senate, whose corruption Wax and his wife Steris have sought to expose, and Bilming is even more entangled. After Wax discovers a new type of explosive that can unleash unprecedented destruction and realises that the Set must already have it, an immortal Kandra serving Scadrial's god Harmony reveals that Bilming has fallen under the influence of another god, Trell, worshipped by the Set. And Trell isn't the only factor at play from the larger Cosmere. Marazi is recruited by off-worlders with strange abilities who claim their goal is to protect Scadrial at any cost. Wax must choose whether to set aside his rocky relationship with God and once again become the sword that Harmony has groomed him to be. If no one steps forward to be the hero Scadrial needs, the planet and its millions of people will come to a sudden and calamitous ruin. So the book is set 6 years after the events of the Bands of Mourning, and we find now that Wax and Steris have 2 children. Now, I knew that going into this book there were going to be a lot of Cosmere connections and Easter eggs, and that was really exciting. I was keen to read all about that stuff, and I wasn't disappointed with that. It started off rather slow for me though, and I was finding it difficult to get into, and that was a bit disappointing because the first 3 books in the series I was able to get into them straight away, so it put me behind schedule a little bit, and then after page 100 things started to pick up a little bit there, which was a little bit better. Okay, look, so the fight scenes were decent, but I felt some parts of the book were lacking a bit of pacing. I just didn't think things were moving as fast as they should, and I felt the pacing was better in the first 3 books than this one, but I know that Brandon Sanderson spends a fair bit of time setting things up for his famous Sanderlanche or payoff at the end of the book, but with any good pacing in a book, the perfect indication is how quick you turn the pages, and for some parts of the book I just wasn't getting that vibe. Some of the sessions that I was in with the book, I felt that I was putting the book down a lot. I wasn't feeling compelled to read on like I normally would with a Sanderson book, so it was a little bit of a letdown there, although I will say on the positive that the last chapters, the last quarter of the book was actually quite good in terms of pacing there, but various parts of the book the pacing just wasn't quite up to scratch there, in my opinion. Some people might disagree with that, and that's fine, but it's just how I felt about the pacing there. Yeah, look, the characters, it's one of the best aspects of the book. I mean, I was hoping to get more of Milan, the Kandra, but she's gone off-world now, and I really felt for Wayne at the start of the book because of what he has to come to terms with after her departure. It was kind of bittersweet, but Wayne is the standout in this book. He is pretty much my favourite character in the whole thing. I love how he reminds me of a character, Tasselhoff Burfoot from Dragonlance. He was a Kender and got up to all kinds of impish mischief, and in this he steals a couple of things of Wax's. For example, he makes a one-sided deal that he'll swap this for this, and Wax won't mind, and things like hiding a sandwich, half-eaten sandwich in one of Wax's coat pockets, and it goes rancid while he flogged a pair of shoes or something. The wisecracks are as funny as ever. Now I've got something to share with you, a nice little passage which made me laugh out loud because John and I agreed that we're both immature about this, and we both laughed out loud when we read it, and I'll try and keep a straight face while I'm doing it, but this passage comes when Wax, Wayne and a few others are meeting with the Lord Mayor of Bilming. And here it goes. Today, he was dressed in formal wear and even checked his cufflinks as they entered, no doubt to show off the sparkling diamonds set into the wood, slicked back hair, a chin you could use to cut the tops off tin cans, and of course, a characteristically smug smile. "Oi," Wayne said, sitting up. "Hey, Wax, someone done sewn a bag of dicks together and made a person. It's even walking." Sorry. I laughed out loud. And I don't do that in books, but it just made me titter like a schoolgirl. It was just so funny because these wisecracks, he just cracks me up every time, and he shines in this book a bit later on as well. Okay, Wax. Now, I like how he was called back to action as the reluctant hero to address the big threat. He did give an ultimatum to Harmony that he's only going into battle one last time because he's reached a point in his life now where he has 2 kids. He's finished with his old life in the roughs, dispensing justice. All he wants to do is settle down, and the scenes where he makes his entrance on the battlefield is always pretty cool, and he does have some really good fight scenes, but ultimately he is not the hero of this book. It is another character, one of the most unlikely characters you would expect, becomes the saviour of the world, and it's very, very satisfying and a really good decision on Sanderson's part. I was really happy with that. We have Marazi. She has a really good arc in this. She plays a major role in stopping the threat, but I like her interactions with the Ghost Bloods. And how she has grown across all the books and becomes gets an offer to become a Ghost Blood, and which would ultimately lead to world hopping. And she's almost viewed as a legend within the constabulary. So she feels that she's reached the pinnacle in her career there, and then she's a little bit torn. She isn't sure whether she wants to go with the Ghost Bloods or not because she feels there's a fair bit more to do. But she has grown a lot on me over the series, and she does have a really good arc in this. Yeah, the world building was exceptional, as you would expect with Sanderson. I mean, he had a really good concept here where there was an implement used to gaslight people hidden below in caverns to make them think that the world had reverted back to the ash mounts and the red sun, and the way it was done was very smart and very cruel because these people thought the world above was had gone back to what it was 300 years ago. But the way in which they were gaslit using this device was very, very eye-opening for me, and an interesting element that Sanderson introduced to his world. Now, the world continues to change. There are a lot more cars on the road now, being 6 years after the Bands of Mourning. The skyscrapers are getting taller. Electricity is growing. At night time you can see the whole city of Allendale lit up like a Christmas tree, so things are advancing very well. And I think how Sanderson has set up for Mistborn Era 3 is going to be very, very interesting indeed, and I'm chomping at the bit to find out what he's got in store for Scadrial. The location of Bilming didn't blow my socks off. Nothing really was done different there. It was just an ordinary city. Nothing really stood out. I felt the storyline was confined to the one location. I would have preferred it to be spread out a little bit more, with maybe a look at tensions between the basin and the southern continents. Would have been interesting, but you know, for what it was, the world building was still exceptional, as you've come to expect with Sanderson's writing. Yeah, look, the writing quality was awesome. The dialogue was pretty much perfect as per usual. He knows exactly what he's doing with the story. I cannot fault his climaxes. He always delivers a really good Sanderlanche and a real WTF moment. And he had a really interesting twist in this one, which involved the massive weapon. There was a sort of a rope-a-dope element there where he showed you something, but it was something else completely turned on its head, which is really interesting because it does keep you guessing. And he always delivers in his climaxes, which is always a standout for any book he writes, in my opinion. Yeah, several standout moments for me in this one. Finding out who the leader of the Ghost Bloods is was fantastic, and it really ties back to Era 1 very, very well. So it's a really good, the whole book is a really good homage to Era 1 in my opinion, with some definite elements tied up. The twist involving the weapon of mass destruction that I just mentioned there was the one of the standouts. Now, Steris's status at the end, she only plays a minor role in this book, but even though she plays a minor role, it's a major role in itself, because she gets held with a lot of esteem by the officials of Bilming at the end, because she has such awesome skills when it comes to planning and implementing solutions to different problems, like solving things that preparing for things that might happen in the future on a critical scale. So she she said to them, I have all these plans for what we can do to prevent disasters in the future. And when she's questioned on it, she said, "Oh, just do it for fun." So she can do it with her eyes blindfolded. So she's pretty amazing. Even though she has a small role in the book, she still packs quite a punch in terms of how small her character role is. Now, I've got to talk about the ending. It was very sad. It was quite emotional for me. I was misting up during it, because there was an ultimate sacrifice made for the good of the many, which is always a really good trope. And it was sort of satisfying as well, but tied up very, very nicely. It was, it was drawn out a little bit, and yeah, I can't really reveal too much more because it would be a major spoiler, but the ultimate sacrifice that was made really made you think, I love this character. And of course, the Cosmere connections. There are heaps of Easter eggs in here when you look for them, and it's very, very satisfying to read about those, especially if you've read all the books leading up to this one, and if you've read some of Stormlight Archive as well, which was very, very interesting. And I think things are really set up well for Era 3, and I can't wait to see how that works into things, because you've got world hopping now as a common theme in the books moving forward. So it's becoming world hopping, and other characters in the Cosmere have actually they've been kind of a bit more secretive in past books, but now things are being a little bit more obvious and actually mentioned out loud, which is very, very interesting. So things are starting to culminate towards a really big ending to the Stormlight Archive first arc as well. So I'm going to be very interested to see how things pan out when Wind and Truth comes out in December. The only negative I have was the pacing. It was an issue I had with the book. Some people might find the pacing good, but I found that it dragged a little bit in some places. But overall, I think the book may have been better if it was maybe 100 pages shorter. I think it dragged out just a little bit. If it could have been trimmed back a little bit, I think it might have worked a lot better, and I may have read through it a lot quicker. But it's only a small gripe. Overall, the book was pretty good. So yeah, look, although it wasn't my favourite book of the series, I still liked it. It's not on the same level as Stormlight Archive, how could it be? But if you've read the first 3 books in Era 2 and you haven't gotten around to this one yet, I don't think you'll be disappointed with it, especially with all the Cosmere connections. It does tie everything up for you overall, and I think a lot of fans of the series will enjoy the ending, even though it is emotional. But yeah, it was very, very well written, as per usual. So there you go, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Offer up any comments below, and I'll always respond to that and deliver the best content I can. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers as per usual. But until the next video, happy reading.